An important poll question there, Gareth, around, how this conflict between Ukraine and Russia will hit our pockets. But of course, that ongoing Ukraine and Russia conflict will have a definite impact on global food security. Well, the two account for 30% of the world's wheat, 20% of maize and 80% of sunflower oil. And Agri SA is warning of dire consequences. Executive Director Christo van Der Rheede joins us now to have this conversation. Christo, thank you so much for your time. And we do know that, of course, both nations make quite a meaningful global contribution when it comes to food. But let's take this into account and just name exactly what it is that they produce to the rest of the world, just for clarity and context. Just individually, when we look at Ukraine and Russia, starting with Ukraine, I mean, looking at them, what contribution do they really make to the global food chain?
Ukraine is a very, very important producer of wheat. As you know, wheat is an important ingredient for bread, and all of us need bread at any time of the day, so to speak. So at the same time, they also produce maize, but I think they're one of the biggest wheat exporters to the rest of the world. And with that, a whole host of other agricultural products, for example, linseed, also beans, and a whole range of other products that is required internationally. But I think one of the most important things that they also produce is potassium fertilizer. And fertilizer is a very important ingredient or an input product that we use, obviously, to optimize yields. And we've seen a massive spike in the price of fertilizer already.
Right. And Russia it also has that impact as well, equally felt around, the globe, Christo.
Yes, Russia is also a big producer of wheat and a whole range of other products. And as you rightly mentioned right at the start of this bulletin, is that they are responsible for about 30% of wheat production. Ukraine is also known as the breadbasket of Europe. And a lot of countries, especially on the African continent, depend on importing some of the agricultural products from both Ukraine and Russia. And South Africa, yes, we also rely on products such as wheat, but at the same time, we also export specific products to Russia as well as Ukraine.
Oh, I'm glad you brought in South Africa into this conversation, because the question for our viewer is, how does this affect me and my pockets, but also what I purchase and what I consume at the stores? What impact will this then have on the local food security in South Africa?
One of the biggest items, obviously, and we've seen a surge in price, is the price of petroleum, diesel and petrol. Oil has already reached more than $100 per barrel, and that will have a major impact on our logistics network, not only for the sectors that produce goods and that must transport those goods from point A to point B, but it will also have a major impact on the pockets of ordinary consumers. And we cannot afford that, given the fact that we come out of a very, very bad economic cycle, and we have now tried to really take our economy to the next level. But this war is really unexpected, and it will again put us back. So that's the one issue that we're going to face. The second issue, obviously, is the impact this war has on our foreign exchange. Remember, we export a lot of pears, a lot of apples, a lot of citrus fruit to Ukraine and Russia. I think pears and apples, we export in the region of 5.5 million cartons of deciduous fruit to those countries. And we earn a lot of foreign exchange. And with that foreign exchange, we create jobs, we expand our agriculture sector, and we make a contribution to the fiscus. So yes, on that part of the equation, it will also have an impact.
Yeah. I know we're talking about, the impact on South Africa during this conversation, Christo, but I'm keen to know if food security will also worsen in other developing countries, do you reckon?
Let me first start with South Africa. I think we are very fortunate in South Africa that we've got a very good and very stable commercial agriculture sector. And this sector was the saving grace of South Africa especially during the lockdown period, because we could sustain the food production in South Africa. That is something that we need to protect and promote and advance at all costs. But at the same time, there's a lot of African countries that do not have this very sophisticated commercial agriculture sector that we have. And to a very large extent, while they do have all the land, while they have very good rains, they cannot produce at a commercial scale due to a number of factors. So they depend on importing food. And that's very sad for Africa continent, that we are so reliant on imports as opposed to producing our own food. But in South Africa, I think we won't face significant food shortages, because we're a very big maize producer, meat producer, and obviously we produce a whole host of other things. So I'm not that worried. What I'm more worried, obviously, is the price of wheat, the price of other commodities that we import, because of the logistical challenge that we'll face. And obviously, with a spike in the price of oil, we will certainly face an uphill battle going forward.
All right, well, we'll leave it there, and appreciate this clarity that you bring us, and also just more analysis on what we could expect due to the Ukraine and Russia conflict. Agri SA Executive Director Christo van Der Rheede.